The Young and the Restless, YNR, recap for Tuesday, November 18th, reveals that Phyllis Summers, Michelle Stafford, will catch Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn, snooping on her laptop before Lily Winters, Crystal Khalil, faces a crushing blow. At Society, Lily will have a brief encounter with Nikki Newman, Melody Thomas Scott, before she talks to Maddie Ashby, Lexi Stevenson, over the phone and gives her a nudge toward forgiving Kane. Nikki will meet with Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman soon after, so he'll express concern about her being complicit in Victor Newman's, Eric Braeden, destructive plans and caught up in the fallout. At the ranch, Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, will give Victor updates on Noah Newman, Lucas Adams, checking himself out of the hospital, and will admit he's been having an affair with Sienna Bacall, Tamara Braun. Nick will also come clean about Matt Clark, Roger Howarth, somehow returning from the grave and resurfacing as Mitch Bacall. Victor will agree to do more investigating and look into Detective Burrow, Matt Cohen, since Nick will believe he's on Matt's payroll. There'll be fears about Matt being behind Noah's disappearance, so Nick will discuss those with Sharon Newman, Sharon Case, when she reconvenes with him. Nick will eventually get Detective Burrow on the phone and set up a meeting to discuss his fears that Noah might be at risk again. Sharon will want to tag along, but Nick will shut down that idea. Back in Genoa City, Lily will visit Victor and try to pry the truth out of him regarding the AI program attack on Kane. Although Lily will like the fact that it gave Kane a wake-up call, she'll still seem worried about Victor's intentions. Adam will interrupt on Tuesday's YNR episode, but Lily will suggest they were wrapping things up anyway. Once Lily is gone, Victor will give Adam all the latest Matt news and a brief history lesson. Victor will want Adam to compile a list of Matt's past crimes and figure out how he became Mitch Bacall. Adam will express his willingness to give Nick backup in Los Angeles if need be, so Victor will appreciate the show of family loyalty. The conversation will shift to Adam digging into Billy Abbott's, Jason Thompson, new investor. After following the money trail to Hong Kong, Adam will admit he figured out Jill Abbott, Jess Walton, is the one funding Abbott Communications. Victor will plan to convince Jill to pull the funding, so Adam will think they can deliver that curveball to Billy at the upcoming launch party. Once the Abbotts are dealing with the aftermath, Victor will intend on using the distraction to target Jack and Jabot. In Phyllis's suite, she'll strip down with Kane for some passion. After Kane and Phyllis flirt in bed afterward, he'll suggest continuing their conversation in the shower. Once Kane sends Phyllis in first, he'll act like he's busy ordering a chocolate souffle from room service. Kane will buy some extra time by suggesting he has to call back over forgotten whipped cream. That'll give Kane a chance to snoop on Phyllis's laptop, so he'll mull over what a hacker's password would be. Kane will take too long, so Phyllis will end up peeking around the corner and catch what he's really up to. Phyllis won't let on like she saw anything, so Kane will eventually give up and join her in the shower. A little later, Lily will enter the GCAC and see Kane laughing with Phyllis as they come down the stairs holding hands. The Young and the Restless spoilers say that'll leave Lily looking crushed as she locks eyes with Kane, so stay tuned. The gilded cage of the Chancellor Mansion felt particularly oppressive on this crisp November morning. Sunlight streamed through the grand windows, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air, each one seeming to carry the weight of unspoken secrets and impending heartbreak. The scene was one of opulent tranquility, but beneath the surface, the foundations of a marriage were cracking, ready to shatter with one final, crushing blow. A morning of false pretenses. Lily Winters Ashby moved through her kitchen with a practiced, if weary, grace. The scent of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, a small, comforting ritual in a life that felt increasingly alien. She poured 2 cups, her movements automatic as she prepared one just the way her husband, Kane, liked it. A dash of cream, no sugar. It was a habit born of love, now feeling more like a hollow performance. Kane entered, his smile a brilliant, practiced mask. "Good morning, my love," he said, his voice a smooth, warm baritone that had once set her heart alight. He kissed her cheek, the gesture feeling more obligatory than affectionate. "Morning," Lily replied, handing him the mug. Their fingers brushed, and she fought the urge to pull away. "Sleep well?" "Like a log," he said, his eyes avoiding hers as he took a sip. "You?" "Fine," Lily lied. She had spent most of the night staring at the ceiling, the digital clock on her bedside table ticking away the seconds toward a confrontation she both dreaded and knew was inevitable. The financial discrepancies at Chancellor Industries, the whispers from the board, the gut-wrenching intuition that the man she had built her life with was lying to her, it all coalesced into a knot of anxiety in her stomach. "I've got a few calls to make before heading into the office," Kane announced, already pulling out his phone. "The Singapore deal is getting complicated." Lily simply nodded, watching him retreat toward his home study. Complicated. That was one word for it. She had her own meeting with the forensic accountants today, a meeting she had not mentioned to her husband. The parallel paths they were walking were about to collide. Phyllis's perch and a snooping husband. Across town at the Grand Phoenix, Phyllis Summers was in her element. Dressed in a power red suit that screamed both "Don't mess with me" and "fabulous," she held court in the lobby, simultaneously directing a floral delivery, approving the menu for a high society luncheon, and fielding a call from a disgruntled investor. For Phyllis, chaos was a symphony, and she was the conductor. Her sharp eyes, however, missed nothing. She spotted Devin Hamilton walking toward the elevators, his expression unreadable. She knew he was meeting Lily here. The two co-CEOs of Chancellor Industries often used her hotel's private conference rooms for sensitive discussions. Phyllis made a mental note. Anything involving the Winters-Ashby family and their corporate empire was potential gossip gold, and in Genoa City, information was the truest currency. Her attention was diverted by the arrival of an unexpected guest, Kane Ashby. He strode into the lobby with a forced nonchalance that immediately set off Phyllis's internal alarms. He didn't head for the bar or the restaurant. Instead, he made a beeline for the business center, a sleek, glass-walled room off the main lobby. Well, Phyllis murmured to herself, a slow, predatory smile spreading across her lips. "What are you up to, Mr. Ashby?" She finished her tasks with practiced efficiency, then casually drifted toward the business center, using a large, decorative potted fern as a vantage point. Inside, Kane wasn't working on a presentation or taking a call. He was seated at a computer terminal, his back to the door. He kept glancing over his shoulder, his posture tense. Phyllis watched as he pulled a small flash drive from his pocket and plugged it into the computer. He began typing furiously, his movements hurried and furtive. This was no ordinary business. This was a man covering his tracks. Phyllis's phone buzzed. But she ignored it. The show in front of her was far more compelling. She saw him access what looked like a remote server, his brow furrowed in concentration. He was deleting something. Or copying something. Either way, it was shady. Just as he finished and yanked the flash drive out, he turned slightly, and his eyes met Phyllis's through the glass. He froze, a deer caught in the headlights of her unwavering, knowing gaze. Phyllis didn't look away. She simply raised a perfectly sculpted eyebrow, her expression a masterpiece of silent accusation. Kane scrambled to his feet, stuffing the drive into his pocket. He exited the business center, attempting to regain his composure. "Phyllis," he said, his voice tighter than before. "I didn't see you there." "Oh, I think you did," she replied smoothly, stepping out from behind the fern. "Everything all right, Kane? You look like you've just seen a ghost. Or maybe a red-headed hotel owner who doesn't miss a trick." "Fine. Just had to send a secure file. The hotel Wi-Fi can be unreliable for sensitive corporate data." "Is that what it was? Corporate data?" Phyllis took a step closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. It looked an awful lot like a man who's desperate to hide something from his wife. "And his business partners. How is Lily, by the way?" Kane's face paled. "Lily is fine. We're fine." "Of course you are," Phyllis said, her tone dripping with faux sincerity. "It's just, a happy husband doesn't usually need to use a public computer for his sensitive work. He'd do it from the office. Or from home. Unless, of course, he's afraid someone is watching." She let the words hang in the air. "You know, Kane, secrets have a way of bubbling to the surface in this town. Especially in my hotel. Tread carefully." Kane had no retort. He gave a stiff nod and practically fled the lobby, the image of Phyllis's knowing smile burning into his mind. He had been caught, and by the one woman in Genoa City who could weaponize a piece of gossip with the precision of a sniper. The calm before the storm, Lily's resolve. Upstairs in the private conference room, Lily was staring at a spreadsheet projected onto a large screen. The numbers swam before her eyes, but their meaning was terrifyingly clear. "It's definitive, Lily," Devon said, his voice gentle but firm. He pointed to a series of transactions. These funds were funneled through a shell company in the Caymans. The digital trail is complex, but our team was able to follow it. The money was used to cover massive personal trading losses. Losses incurred by Kane. Lily felt the room tilt. She gripped the edge of the polished mahogany table. "How much?" she whispered, the words catching in her throat. $3 million, the lead accountant said, his tone apologetic. "And that's just from this account. There may be more." 3 million. The number echoed in the silent room. It wasn't just the money, though that was staggering. It was the betrayal. The lies he'd told her every single day. The performance he'd put on in their kitchen just hours ago. "He lied to my face, Devon," she said, her voice trembling with a mixture of grief and rising fury. "He looked me in the eye and told me everything was fine, that the pressure from the board was unwarranted. He let me defend him." "I know," Devon said, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "But now we know the truth. The board needs to be informed immediately. And the SEC." Lily closed her eyes, taking a deep, shuddering breath. When she opened them, the grief had been burned away, replaced by a cold, hard resolve. The Lily Winters who had fought for her company, her family, and her dignity was back. "No," she said, her voice now steady as steel. "Not yet. I want to hear him say it. I want to look him in the eye and give him one last chance to tell me the truth. I owe our marriage that much." Devon looked concerned. "Lily, are you sure that's wise? He's already proven he can't be trusted." "This isn't about wisdom, Devon. This is about closure." She stood up, gathering her things. "I'm going home. I'm going to confront my husband. And then, I'm going to destroy him." The confrontation, a crushing blow. Back at the Chancellor Mansion, the false peace of the morning had evaporated. Kane was pacing in the living room, his encounter with Phyllis having shredded his nerves. When he heard Lily's key in the door, he forced himself to stop, to paste the mask back on. "You're home early," he said, his voice too bright. "Everything okay at the office?" Lily didn't answer immediately. She placed her purse on the console table, took off her coat, and folded it neatly over a chair. Each movement was deliberate, controlled. Finally, she turned to face him. Her expression was not one of anger, but of a profound, bone-deep sadness that made Kane's heart stutter. "I saw Phyllis today," Kane blurted out, a preemptive strike. She was being her usual nosy self, lurking around the business center at the Grand Phoenix. "You know how she is." Lily's eyes narrowed. "The business center? Why were you there, Kane? Why not the office?" I told you. The Singapore deal needed a secure connection." The lies came so easily to him now, a reflex born of self-preservation. Lily took a step forward. "Stop. Just stop." Her voice was quiet, but it carried the force of a gavel. "I know, Kane. I know everything." The air left the room. Kane's face went ashen. "Know what?" "Lily, what are you talking about?" "The $3 million, she said, her voice cracking on the number. "The shell company. The trading losses you hid. The money you stole from our company, from our family, to cover your own reckless gambling." Kane stared at her, his mouth agape. The meticulously constructed house of cards he had been living in was collapsing around him, and there was nowhere to run. "Lily, it's not what you think. I was going to pay it back. I was in a hole, and I kept thinking I could fix it. By lying to me? By betraying me every single day." The dam of her control finally broke, and tears streamed down her face, though her voice remained strong. "I stood by you through everything, Kane. Through your past, through every crisis. I trusted you with my company, with my heart, with our children. And you did this? You looked me in the eye, and you lied." "I was scared," he pleaded, moving toward her, but she held up a hand, stopping him cold. Don't. Don't you dare come near me. She wiped her tears away with the back of her hand, her gaze turning to ice. You didn't just steal money, Kane. You stole our future. You stole every memory we ever built. You made a mockery of our marriage. Lily, please, we can fix this, he begged, his own eyes filling with tears. I love you. I love the kids. We're a family. No, she said, the word final and absolute. It was the crushing blow she had promised, delivered not with a scream, but with a devastating, quiet finality. We are not a family. A family is built on trust. And you have none. She walked over to the desk in the corner, pulled out a single sheet of paper, and threw it down on the coffee table between them. It was a document he recognized immediately. What is that? He asked, though he already knew. It's a copy, Lily said, her voice now eerily calm. The original is with my lawyer. I'm filing for divorce, Kane. I want you out of this house. Tonight. Kane felt the world drop out from under him. Lily, no. You can't. I can and I am, she stated. This isn't a negotiation. It's a consequence. Now, get out. He stood there, paralyzed, watching the woman he loved, the woman he had destroyed everything for, look at him as if he were a stranger. The grand mansion, once a symbol of their success and love, was now just a beautiful, empty shell. The silence that fell between them was louder than any scream, filled with the echoes of broken promises and a love that had been extinguished by the cold, hard truth. As Kane finally turned and walked out the door, a single, shattered man, Lily stood alone in the quiet, the first day of the rest of her life beginning in the ruins of her marriage. The battle was over. The war for her future, however, had just begun. The Young and the Restless, YNR, recap for Tuesday, November 4th, reveals that Noah Newman, Lucas Adams, will struggle with some memory issues while Claire Newman, Haley Aaron, meets Mitch Bacall aka Matt Clark, Roger Howarth, and gets bad vibes. At their hotel, Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, will stop by Sharon Newman's Sharon Case room with a scone, so they'll discuss how they didn't get much sleep due to Matt's return and their concerns about Noah. The Young and the Restless, YNR, recap for Tuesday, November 4th, reveals that Noah Newman, Lucas Adams, will struggle with some memory issues while Claire Newman, Haley Aaron, meets Mitch Bacall aka Matt Clark, Roger Howarth, and gets bad vibes. At their hotel, Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, will stop by Sharon Newman's Sharon Case room with a scone, so they'll discuss how they didn't get much sleep due to Matt's return and their concerns about Noah. Sharon will plan on heading back to the hospital, but Nick will want to join her there a bit later. In the meantime, Nick will hope to ambush Matt at the shadow room and try to get some answers. At the hotel cafe, Claire will have sunglasses on due to her hangover as she eats breakfast with Victoria Newman, Amelia Heinley, and Nikki Newman, Melody Thomas Scott. Nikki will seem a little uncomfortable over Claire's drinking before talk turns to Claire's decision to head home to Genoa City. Once Holden Novak, Nathan Owens, overhears that info, he'll speak with Claire privately. Claire will assure Holden that she enjoyed their time together, including what happened between them last night, but she'll be ready to go home and figure out what normal looks like. Holden will wonder where he fits in Claire's life now, but she won't be able to give him a firm answer on that yet. Since Claire's flight will be in a few hours, she'll have 2 requests before she goes. Claire will want to see the mountains one more time and stop by the shadow room so she can thank Sienna Bacall, Tamara Braun, for her hospitality. Holden will realize this is really about digging for the truth about his past with Audra, but he'll agree to take Claire there anyway. After Holden and Claire snap some pics with a mountain backdrop, they'll indeed head to the nightclub. Before they go inside, Holden will manage to talk Claire out of pumping Sienna for information related to his history with Audra. As for Mitch, he'll find Sienna at the shadow room and once again deny that he's this Matt person. Mitch will act like Nick must just be an upset father who's desperate for answers and making things up. Mitch will also admit he missed Sienna last night since she didn't come home, but she'll make excuses. Claire and Holden will later approach Sienna alone, so that'll give Claire a chance to say goodbye and extend her gratitude. Mitch will eventually pop up and meet Claire, so he'll suggest that Sienna told him that she was Noah's cousin. After Mitch talks about meeting Noah in London and offering to invest in his new LA club, there'll be some talk about the accident. Sienna will mention the speculation that it may not have been an accident at all, so Mitch won't be pleased over her highlighting that to Claire. As for Audra Charles, Zuleika Silver, Holden will insist she's ancient history, but he'll acknowledge that he still runs into her since they both live in Genoa City now. Sienna will assume Claire wants Audra dirt like Kyle Abbott, Michael Mealer did, but she'll turn Sienna down. Once Claire and Holden head outside, she'll talk about the tension she felt when Mitch walked in the room. Claire will discuss Mitch's unsettling vibe and seem a little weirded out. Claire will also reflect on all the secrets and lies that other people have told her. If Holden wants to have a real friendship, Claire will need him to be honest about what happened with Audra. Nick will pop up at one point and claim that he needs to see Mitch about Noah's crash, so Holden and Claire will confirm he's inside. Claire will wonder if she's missing something since Sharon was at the shadow room last night too, but Nick will downplay any drama. Back inside, Mitch will insist Sienna shouldn't have told Claire that it wasn't an accident, but she'll argue that Claire knew already. Since Sienna will seem so on edge over the Noah situation, Mitch will wonder why, since it's not like she really even knew Noah. Based on Sienna's expression, it'll be obvious that she's holding back. At the hospital, Sharon will read to Noah until he moves his hand multiple times. Noah will finally wake up enough to call Sharon Mom, so she'll be over the moon about him coming out of his coma. The doctor will offer some positive medical updates and confirm that Noah's on the right track. Sharon will give Nikki and Victoria the good news once they arrive, so they'll also sit down with Noah. Although Noah will remember his loved ones and who he is, he'll draw a blank when it comes to the crash. Since Noah won't recall what happened to him, he'll push Victoria and Nikki to explain how he ended up there. Meanwhile, Sharon will finally get in touch with Nick and summon him to the hospital right away now that Noah's awake. The Young and the Restless spoilers say there's much more drama to come for Nick and Sharon, so stay tuned.